About this is the fact that we are only a month into the regular season and Caitlin Clark has already been out with 2 injuries. With the first one being her having to miss some time with a left quad strain. Now, of course, this is concerning because if you're already on your second injury, you don't want to be that player that is always hurt. Cough, cough, Embiid, cough, cough, Anthony Davis. So I really do hope that the fever really sits her out right now for a while, only because you don't want her to have more long-term.
And the truth is the truth, and the data is there. And what we saw when Caitlin was out the last time, the 5 games that she missed earlier in the season, the WNBA's viewership dropped more than 50%. Not just the fever, but the entire.
Without Caitlin Clark on the floor, the WNBA looks like it's falling apart in real time. The league is stuck in a massive financial meltdown, totally powerless to stop its own empire from crumbling. It's almost like they learned nothing about protecting the one player who dragged them from obscurity into the spotlight with sheer star power. This is the wild story of a league that keeps sabotaging itself while its biggest name is sidelined. And the cost is millions slipping right through their fingers. Facts? They're messy to pin down in this era of social media chaos and staged drama. But one thing is clear. All those sold-out WNBA games without Caitlin Clark don't tell the real story. The ugly truth about just how dependent the league is on one player exploded in public the moment Clark went down on May 24th with that quad injury. And now she's sidelined again with a groin issue. No one even knows when she's coming back. It feels like deja vu in the worst way possible. The fallout has been brutal. National TV ratings didn't just dip. They crashed by a jaw-dropping 55%. Dropping from over 1.8 million viewers with Clark on the court down to a pathetic 847,000 without her. Even worse, Indiana Fever games themselves suffered a stunning 53% ratings collapse. But here's where things get truly insane. The league acts like nothing's wrong, ducking accountability while the numbers bleed out week after week. And remember, Caitlin Clark was the one packing arenas, smashing TV records, and pouring in record-breaking revenue.
Man, bruh. Congratulations to the WNBA. Your ratings are going to drop by 55 to 60% once again. I believe the WNBA have successfully broken K.
Yet somehow, the WNBA managed to sideline not just its star, but its entire future. Now the question isn't whether the league needs Clark, it's whether they can even survive without her. The WNBA was out here doing what they do best. Absolutely nothing to protect their biggest star. Imagine this. A player who's responsible for 26.5% of the entire league's economic engine is being hacked and targeted night after night, and the league just shrugs, calling it basketball plays. That's not just negligence, that's insanity. And here's what makes it even more infuriating. This isn't new. We've seen this exact nightmare before, and somehow the WNBA refuses to learn from its own history. Every single time their top player goes down, revenue tanks, viewership collapses, and the league acts shocked.
How much does it hurt the WNBA when Caitlin Clark is out?
It is devastating to the WNBA when Caitlin.
It's like watching somebody touch a scorching hot stove, scream in pain, and then go right back to grabbing it again, swearing they had no clue it was hot. Meanwhile, the money disaster is hitting fast and brutal. Indiana Fever ticket prices have cratered by a jaw-dropping 71%. Some seats that once sold for $860 are now being dumped for just $250. And the average ticket price for Clark's missed games didn't just fall, it imploded, from $1,370 to a measly $80. That's not a dip. That's a collapse that tells you everything about who actually moves the needle in this league. And don't forget those hyped-up reschedules to bigger arenas that were supposed to handle Clark Mania. Those games went from selling out instantly to struggling to fill half the building. Without Caitlin, the WNBA's big dream is looking more like a nightmare. Even one of the season's most hyped clashes, the Chicago Sky vs. Fever rematch, couldn't escape the collapse. Ticket prices plunged from $210 to just $95. And remember, this was the same matchup that once drew a massive 2.25 million viewers, one of the most watched WNBA games ever. Without Caitlin Clark, it's just another forgettable night on the schedule. Casual fans simply aren't tuning in anymore. And the outrage isn't just coming from fans.
As big a deal as Tiger was in men's golf, Keith, he did, and when he was gone, it affected the ratings, but nothing like that. And, Michael Jordan being out, maybe a 5 percentage points or something. Nothing like this. You can make a strong case, and I will make that case, and have that there is no one single athlete more important to his or her sport or tour or whatever the circuit is that they play on than Caitlin.
Veteran sports journalist Christine Brennan has been one of the loudest voices blasting the WNBA for its pathetic protection of Clark. Her upcoming book on Caitlin Clark and the revolution in women's sports promises to air out every single dirty truth about the league's failures. And the timing couldn't be more brutal for the WNBA. Brennan didn't hold back after yet another ugly incident where opponents blatantly targeted Clark. She declared the league continues to fail to meet the moment. And she's right, because here's the brutal fact. League numbers confirm Caitlin Clark alone is responsible for more than half of the WNBA's TV audience. Half. Yet somehow they still allow her to get battered with cheap fouls designed only to shake her up and humiliate the one player keeping their ratings alive. It's insane. Like a restaurant owner letting customers spit on the chef who's the only reason the place stays open. And the pattern is beyond obvious now. Opponents seem more obsessed with sending a message than actually playing basketball, hacking Clark on repeat.
I admire about Caitlin, she's a warrior. She's tough. You hear me? Bruh, you just don't see players, you don't see female basketball players like her. I'm sorry. I done seen a lot of female basketball players.
Just think about this. 5 of the league's 30 worst flagrant fouls in 2024 were against Clark. And 80% of those came from one team, the Chicago Sky. That's not a coincidence. That's a full-blown target job. If Caitlin Clark pushes back on the rough play, she gets blasted as too combative. If she stays quiet and takes the hits, she's labeled soft. The WNBA has boxed her into a rigged no-win situation, and they've shown zero interest in fixing it. Meanwhile, the financial bleeding isn't just hitting the fever. The entire league is drowning in losses. Remember, the WNBA was already projected to lose $50 million this year, even after Clark's explosion of popularity. Now, with her sidelined, those losses are spiraling completely out of control.
Yeah, man. I hope Caitlin Clark is okay. I want to know when this injury even happened, bro, because let's be serious here. She has the quad injury. Mind you, Caitlin Clark hadn't missed a game since she was like 19 years old, since she was like 18 in college or something. Now she has a groin injury. We've never seen Caitlin Clark play as bad as she played the last 3 games. Let's just be serious here. She's like 1 for 20-something on threes in the last 3. We've never seen her shoot the ball this way. I'll say that.
Ratings have nosedived, merch sales have flatlined, and attendance has fallen right back to those depressing pre-Clark levels. The Clark effect that once looked unstoppable has been wasted by the league's negligence. And here's the most heartbreaking part. All of this could have been avoided. When Clark stepped into the league, she didn't come in with ego or arrogance. She was a 22-year-old rookie showing more class and maturity than half the veterans, always crediting her teammates and deflecting the spotlight. She was the perfect star to build everything around. But instead of protecting her and riding the wave, the WNBA let jealousy and petty politics drag the whole movement down. What should have been a golden era, a celebration of women's basketball finally breaking into the mainstream, has been poisoned by short-sighted decisions and straight-up envy. And the damage runs way deeper than tickets and TV ratings. Corporate sponsors who poured millions into the Clark boom are now getting cold feet, second-guessing whether the league can sustain momentum at all. The truth is glaring. The WNBA can't decide what it wants to be. A serious pro league that respects its stars, or a drama circus chasing cheap clicks online. Right now, it's failing at both, and the whole world is watching the crash. Newsflash: you can't run a professional league like a high school drama club. Real leagues protect their stars and maintain competitive integrity. Drama clubs? They stir up chaos hoping someone, anyone, will notice. And right now, the WNBA looks a lot closer to the latter than the former. The contrast with other pro sports is flat out embarrassing. Imagine if the NBA let teams take cheap shots at LeBron James for months straight, brushing it off as just competition. You know that wouldn't fly. The league would drop suspensions faster than you could even say flagrant foul. Yet somehow, the WNBA sits back and allows Caitlin Clark to be targeted like it's part of the game plan. And here's the fallout. It's toxic. The league's refusal to defend Clark has created an atmosphere so rotten that fans are boycotting games altogether.
Went down. The WNBA ratings have dropped over 55% across the board.
Hey, guess what, guys?
The league is Caitlin Clark.
The league is Caitlin Clark. She is the WNBA, guys.
Sidelined with a left quad strain May 24th. National TV viewership has plunged since then 55%. Before the injury, her team, were averaging 1.81 million viewers, almost 2 million. Since her injury, fewer than 800.
Loyal WNBA supporters are openly saying they won't bother watching without Clark on the floor because they don't believe the competition is real anymore. That's not just a ratings problem. That's a credibility crisis on the verge of destroying the league's reputation. What makes it worse? The WNBA had chance after chance to turn this around. Every single incident involving Clark should have been treated like a flashing red siren to establish clear rules for safety and fair play. Instead, they ignored it, doubled down, and pretended nothing was wrong. Now the consequences are piling up. Fans don't trust the officials, sponsors don't trust the product, and the WNBA keeps digging its own grave. Every time the same excuse gets rolled out: basketball plays and letting the players play.
A lot of us were expecting some sort of dip since Caitlin Clark has been out with injury, but I don't think all of us were expecting the entire viewership of the entire WNBA to be down. And this tweet from Christine Brennan really stuck out to me. She said one player gets injured and more than half the TV audience for the entire league disappears. Has any other athlete ever had that kind of impact on a sport? Golf without Tiger definitely dropped precipitously on occasion.
But here's the irony. Clark's injury, the very thing the league should have done everything to prevent, ended up exposing her true worth to the business. A 55% collapse in viewership is all the proof anyone needs. That's not a hiccup. That's a full-blown disaster. And yet, despite numbers screaming the truth, league officials keep hiding behind hollow phrases like competitive balance and physical play. As if cheap shots and dirty hits are some kind of badge of honor for the sport. It's insane. They're letting truly dangerous fouls on Clark's slide while overreacting to normal basketball contact involving her, flipping the script to protect the offenders instead of the star. The fix isn't complicated, but it does require guts. The WNBA has to decide what it actually wants to be. If they want respect as a professional league, then they need to act like one. That means laying down crystal clear rules on player safety and enforcing them consistently, no exceptions. Because right now, the actual game is drowning under a pile of cheap headlines and fake controversies that do nothing but embarrass the sport. And most importantly, they need to admit the obvious.
To her groin, likely because of compensation. But the thing that you have to be careful of is if, say, you try to rush her back from this injury as well, then you're getting into this territory where a very serious injury can happen. That is what the Indiana Fever, that is what Caitlin need to avoid the best that they possibly can. So if it means that Caitlin is out for 3 weeks, if it means that she is out all the way through All-Star,
the stars who fill arenas and carry TV ratings must be protected, period. No more letting trolls with a jersey try to make a name off targeting the league's biggest draw. The ongoing collapse in revenue, ticket sales, and viewership since Clark went down is the harshest reminder of all. This league without her looks just like it did before she arrived. Invisible. And that's exactly what the WNBA will sink back into if they don't wake up and change course. Irrelevance. Without Caitlin Clark, the league's average viewership this season has sunk to a pitiful 555,000. Even lower than last year's 670,000 average? That's not just a stat on paper, and that's a flashing red warning siren. It signals a full return to the pre-Clark era. Empty arenas, meaningless games, and only the most die-hard fans even pretending to care.
I believe the physicality and all this hacking and fouling that goes on, she getting blindsided by Marina Mabry. I think all of this stuff is having a wear and tear and an impact. And all you guys are doing are hurting yourselves. Because the numbers are going to drop and drop and drop. And trust me, when it's time for that collective bargaining agreement, they are going to point to this and say, well, how can we give you guys all this money? What happens if she...
And here's the part that stings the most. None of this had to happen. The WNBA had the perfect chance to ride Clark's wave of popularity and build a solid, lasting foundation for growth. Protect her, promote her, and position her as the superstar who could elevate the entire sport. That was the blueprint staring them in the face. But instead, they built a flimsy house of cards, one that collapses the second their biggest star steps off the court. And now the league is trapped in an endless boom and bust cycle. Every rise tied to a single player, every fall triggered the moment she's sidelined. Until they figure out how to actually safeguard and promote the true stars driving real attention, the WNBA is doomed to keep repeating this nightmare over and over again. The receipts don't lie, and the downfall was written on the wall the whole time.
It's alarming for the league, and it's alarming for the league because this is such a crucial year for the WNBA. At the end of this season, the WNBA will go into CBA negotiations. If negotiations go well, then every single player in the WNBA has a much better chance of making so much more in their next contract. And that's one thing when you start thinking about how many people stopped watching when Caitlin Clark got injured. A lot of people stopped watching because they are boycotting the WNBA. They don't want to give viewership to any other teams or any other players, whether they like other players on the team or not, because of how the media and the league itself has handled Caitlin.
Everyone knew Caitlin Clark wasn't just another rookie. She was the entire show. And yet, instead of protecting the player who carried them to record highs, the WNBA acted shocked when everything crashed the second she went down. That's not bad luck. That's pure negligence. Think about it. The league had every warning they needed. The ticket spikes, the sellouts, the TV ratings through the roof, all of it was screaming the same truth. Clark was the heartbeat of this league. But instead of securing that future, officials sat back, shrugged off the cheap shots, and pretended everything was fine. Now they're watching history repeat itself in the ugliest way possible. The collapse isn't just happening in the stands. It's hitting wallets everywhere. Sponsors who once lined up to cash in on the Clark effect are suddenly hesitant, questioning why they should throw money at a league that can't even protect its main attraction. And TV execs, they're furious, stuck with plummeting ratings after building entire schedules around a player the league failed to shield. This isn't just about Caitlin anymore. It's about the WNBA showing the world it doesn't know how to handle success. They were handed a generational star who could have redefined women's sports forever. And they let her get beat down until the momentum died. Now the only question left is whether the league can recover, or if this mess will go down as the biggest blown opportunity in women's basketball history. Right now, the WNBA is standing at the edge of a cliff, and it's decision time. Either they finally step up, protect their stars, and build a future that fans can believe in, or they tumble straight back into irrelevance with nothing but empty arenas and excuses to show for it.
Because of the way they play the game, because I love the WNBA. I love the way they play the game. But we really watch it because Caitlin Clark and everybody watching. Now listen, if I keep bumping her, knocking her down, might get her a concussion, you might hurt her for real. For 2 weeks, she was done with like a hamstring. She was down. 55% of the viewership was down. She comes back the next game, it's about 3 million viewers. Now let me tell you something. Growing up in the hood, they teach you this. Always protect the money. Y'all keep hurting her and all that. She going for a year or two. Ain't nobody gonna watch it. If nobody watches, how y'all gonna make and
Because here's the reality. The league's credibility is already hanging by a thread. Fans don't trust the officiating. Sponsors are whispering about pulling back. And TV partners are stuck with dead air where the Clark effect used to be. One more season of this chaos and the entire operation risks becoming a punchline instead of a professional league. And let's be honest, this wasn't some unstoppable force of nature. It was preventable. All the WNBA had to do was treat Caitlin Clark like the generational star she is. Protect her from cheap fouls, promote her brilliance, and use her momentum to raise everyone. Instead, they got lost chasing drama, fueling jealousy, and pretending fans would stick around no matter what. Spoiler alert, they won't. This is the breaking point. The league either makes the tough call to prioritize real basketball and player safety, or it keeps sleepwalking into disaster. Because one thing is clear, without Clark, the WNBA looks exactly like it did before she showed up, invisible and ignored. So here's the question that can't be avoided anymore. Is this league ready to grow up and act like a professional organization, or are we about to watch the biggest opportunity in women's sports history slip away forever? So here's the million-dollar question.
Higher television ratings, higher attendance figures. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't come courtesy of a league. It comes courtesy of the players that play in the league. And in her case, she was the most popular, which means she could have helped your bottom line, which means you should have seen that from day one and maximized it, but you didn't.
Will the WNBA ever wake up and protect its most valuable asset? Or will they keep running this reckless pattern until every opportunity Caitlin Clark created is gone for good? Because let's be real, nothing so far suggests the league is suddenly getting smarter. The signs all point to the same old story. Jealousy, bad officiating, and short-sighted decisions, dragging everything back into the shadows. The truth is brutal. Clark gave them a golden ticket, and instead of protecting it, they've let it burn right in their hands. Fans are frustrated, sponsors are restless, and the league is teetering on the edge of throwing it all away. But what do you think? Can the WNBA survive without Clark leading the way, or is this the beginning of the end? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we'll see you on the next one.